So, good morning, everyone. I'm Sam Cotton, and I'm from a firm of accountants called Tonic. And when I was thinking about what to put together for this presentation, it struck me that it was both a pro and a con, that everyone is going to know what an accountant does. So, I didn't want to just kind of tell you what services that we provide because that is going to bore everybody to tears. So, what I've done instead is kind of think about me and us as a business, what makes us a bit different, hopefully, and the things that we find really important when we're delivering that good accounting service and the other things that we do. So, me personally, who am I? I have been doing what I've been doing for nearly 16 years. I started out at a small family-run business in Barnsley called DV Chartered Accountants. And the main director there, David, is a fantastic advisor, and I learned a hell of a lot from him. And from all the firms I've worked for have been heavily SME focused. And after 6 or 7 years at DEB, I left to join TMC Accountancy, which over time got acquired by Northern Tonic, where I now am. Now, my focus has always been on bookkeeping, compliance, and VAT returns as a day to day. So while I have done year-end sets of accounts and things in the past, and I could put together a set of accounts if I needed to, that's never really been the focus of my job. And the bit that I really enjoy about it is I try always to make it more than just I've done your bookkeeping, I've done your VAT return. It's also the advice and guidance on how that business runs. So for me, the bookkeeping forms a part of how you get your records kept, how all that information gets processed from start to finish into that account's product. And over time, obviously in the last 16 years, been massive developments in IT and regulations from making tax digital. So a large part of my job and the part that I really enjoy is helping business owners do that in a more efficient way that saves them the time. Outside of work, I think it's, well, within and outside of work, I think it's really important to keep positive and a strong mental health and all of these types of things. And for me, keeping fit and exercise is a large part of that, which is why there's a flip art football on here. That's the main thing that I do outside of work to keep myself fit. And I am now, unfortunately, at the depressing point where I'm looking around me at the people that are now 10 years younger than me and thinking, please stop running. I can't keep up anymore. So it's a little bit depressing, but it keeps me active, which is great. The image here on the top right is a little bit abstract, but that's meant to indicate that one thing that I always really enjoy doing is both professionally and personally is working on projects. So taking something that may need a little bit of work and then progressing it through to the end result, which is really great, is always the thing that I find the most rewarding. And to link this in with football, I joined an 11 sides team that were in its first season purely on the basis that there were 20 games into the season and hadn't won a single game. In fact, they hadn't even drawn a single game; they'd lost all 20. So part of me, a big part of me, really enjoyed joining at that point. And then when we started picking up wins, it was even more rewarding than if I'd have joined an already established decent team. Saying that, getting beat 8-0 every week to start with wasn't the most exciting thing in the world, but there we are. And the other big thing in my life is my 2-year-old daughter, who she is the most opinionated and strong-willed person I've ever met, and she's only 2, so I can only cower in fear of what she's going to become. But she gives me the run around far more than anybody at football does. So that's a little bit about me. But what about Northern Tonic? Who are Northern Tonic? So we are a firm based in York. We're at Clifton Moor. There is about 18 of us at the minute. And we do cover, said I wasn't going to bore you with the general services list, but we do cover the things you would expect us to do from a stopping HMRC shout at you perspective, the year-end accounts, tax returns, payroll, bookkeeping, etc. Rob Armiston is the managing director, so he's my fellow director, and his background is interesting because he qualified through Ernst & Young far too many years ago, and his career path led him into industry, where he was an FD in multiple businesses, and his industry focus on making businesses run is what makes him tick. And that turned into an outsourced FD role for a couple of companies. And he eventually had the idea, well, this is starting to be a business rather than a couple of gigs. And over time, he then acquired an accounting practice, which is where I came in. And from there, we've developed it so that we do have the compliance arm, and there's lots of very capable and amazing people in our team that deliver the compliance side of things. But we've got a massive focus because of Rob's background, because of my background, on the other things that an FD would focus on within the company. So, and that's Rob's main passion here, where he not only wants to talk about your accounts and the results that you've had, but also how do you get to next steps, the next stage, what is the next stage for you, and all that type of thing. So Rob likes to call my part the engine room, where it's helping the business run. So that's a big part of the business. Another big part of the business is the normal compliance side. And then the future focused stuff, which we have a lady called Kim, who is also part of the LMP. So you may have met her on the LMP 15. Her entire role is designed to probably advisory service, which is about take your numbers now, where do you want to get to? Because looking at all the compliance, it's reporting history, and most of the time people aren't excited about that. They're doing it just because HMRC tell them they have to, and it's not an exciting bit most of the time for the customer to kind of talk about. So that's Northern Tonic as a general. So after I've done some extensive market research, and I have come to the conclusion that 95% of accountants' websites say the phrase, "We are not your standard accountant," and then list a bunch of things that are the same as everybody else. So what do I think actually does make us different compared to every other accountant in the country? Because it is a large market, and the way it's going at the minute, there seems to be a massive uptake on larger practices acquiring smaller ones, trying to push themselves into kind of top 10 and into bigger businesses. So one of the things I think make us different, and as egotistical as it is the directors, because neither of us have a background that is a stuffy man in a grey suit in a basement churning numbers out. Both of us have a different area of passion that is more about either how the business runs, how do we make that more efficient, or what goals do you have and how do we actually get there, which is it's for us a much more rewarding area to be in compared to ticking the boxes for HMRC. And it's also a part that the customer actually wants and gets a lot of benefit from. One of the phrases I hear quite a lot when people talk about an accountant is a good accountant should save you their fees in tax. And I can totally understand that viewpoint. And I think certain areas that is true. But for me and my day to day, I think the opposite is sometimes likely, in the sense that I'm probably going to enforce the rules, what I would say in the correct way every time. Whereas a bit of business owners doing their own VAT returns, they may take some license with the rules, etc. So, but what my team brings is your time back. Hopefully, if the business owner is spending 10 hours a week or a month doing their bookkeeping and VAT returns, then that's 10 hours a week they're not doing the thing that actually is the thing that they're passionate about or the thing that makes the business money. So I have a real drive and focus on trying to save business owners time, and make things as efficiently as possible for them and make their records and audit trail really, really strong. So because I've got that focus as opposed to just the, well, let's get your records in so we can send this return off to HMRC, it just changes how we deliver our service. And because when we have this focus on the value add stuff, but we hope it's not just as saying it. Like I say, we have a team led by Kim that's dedicated to doing the advisory service. So we're putting our money where our mouths is in terms of our commitment to it. And it's really important for us that everybody in our business has that focus towards, well, we can do more for a customer than just the accounts are a very important part of it, but more than that. And it's not just a tacked on 10 minutes at the end of the accounts meeting. We have a dedicated service that's there to support it. On the more compliance side of things, we also can provide audit, which there's so many regulations and loopholes and hoops to jump through to be able to provide an audit. Sometimes Rob, and it's Rob that's in charge of the audit part of the business, and he'll sometimes say to me and say, Sam, the regulations here are horrendous. Why are we doing this? Because it isn't easy, but we actually think it's the right thing to do to be involved, and we embrace it and we've thrown ourselves into it so that we can offer it to our customers that need it. It's also a great introduction as it gets us conversations with different customers that we wouldn't be able to otherwise. And it also allows us to help other accountants in certain areas because they tend to run away from audit because it's difficult to be able to deliver. And that forms part of, it's not quite the right terminology, but what we call our B2B offering. So what I mean by that is our B2C offering would be accounts package, bookkeeping package, whatever it is, to a business owner. Our B2B offering is that we put a lot of work into our structure and our scalability so that we could say to another accountant, you're struggling to complete all the bookkeeping that people want you to do, or your payroll, or your audit. And we can kind of work with you on that. So we can offer to other professionals and other accountants a way to just solve a problem that they potentially have. So yeah, that's something that we've done a lot of work to try and make sure that we can do. And as I've alluded to already, our advisory service is something that we really are happy with and think is a great part of the business. And we get where business take us up on it and come at it with the right mentality. We see a lot of positives for them and a lot of growth. And that's the bit that really we enjoy doing. The packages that we put together here tend to be either quarterly or monthly from a meeting perspective. So I know that we've got a package currently with a particular customer where one meeting a quarter is looking at the numbers. Did you do what you expected to do? What's going to happen next quarter? That type of thing. And then the other two are more accountability focused. Now, I think this is an amazing part of the service, and it's a bit that, to me, does bring the most value. And the way I try to describe it is, no one goes to Weight Watchers to learn that fish and vegetables are better for you than pizza. Why they go every week is so they've got that accountability and that guilt that they don't want to stand on the scales and have to explain that, oh, this didn't go as well as it should have done because I have eaten 2 pizzas this week. And that's a really powerful tool in terms of making sure that business owners stay focused. A lot of the time it's encouragement. A lot of the time it's offering ideas and talking things through. But sometimes if a business owner is already has those ideas and the brain's going a million miles an hour, sometimes it's actually reining them in and keeping the focus and saying, well, you can't possibly do the 10 things that you think are a great idea. Let's focus on these 2, which we think will have the most impact in the next quarter. So I think that's a really powerful way of assisting business owners to get where they want to be. And where they want to be sometimes is financial. So I want to make X amount of money. I want the profit to be whatever it is. But sometimes it might be, well, I want the business to grow or stay as it is, but with less involvement from me. So how do we make that? How do we make that happen? How do we get that succession planning in place? Um, so it can be wide ranging, and but because the business owner is passionate about it, and we're passionate about helping to get there, I think it forms a really strong service, which we are really happy with. So one of the things that makes us different, these on screen are what we have decided our values are. So we did a lot of work, and I'm sure lots of people in the room have, about people tell you need a mission statement, mission, vision, values, all these types of things. We were struggling with that somewhat just because it didn't work for our thought process, and we like to do things that make sense to us. So we have put together our manifesto, and these are the things that are on our manifesto and the values that we kind of commit to when we are working with a customer, and the decision-making process internally, and also the type of customer that we want to work with, and our team and colleagues and all those types of things. So number one, it's prioritizing people. So it's very easy within accountancy to focus on the delivery of the tax return, the fancy spreadsheet, the whatever it is. And at the end of the day, what actually matters is the customer. So we want to put a massive focus on that, and also for each other as colleagues. As I alluded to earlier, I think work-life balance and mental health and things are massively important. And in an industry that is fundamentally deadline driven, one way or another, it's very easy to lose sight of, well, you need to put yourself first sometimes. So that's really important to us. Champion integrity is a huge for me, and it boils down to having the conversation that you should have, the right conversation, not necessarily the easy conversation, and being honest with whoever it is, a customer, a colleague, with what needs to happen, and not taking shortcuts just because that's the easy thing to do. And it underpins everything else, and particularly the one out on here I like the most is doing the right thing, because it's so abstract. No one can really argue that you should be not doing the right thing. But it also, because it's so vague, doesn't really mean anything. So to me, it kind of, with the champion integrity and the prioritizing people, it's doing the right thing in both scenarios to make sure that we are putting people first and thinking about others and having the right conversations in an honest but constructive way. And those three really tie together. Always innovating for me is also massive. I think people sometimes get lost in thinking that this means tech and only tech. And to me, it's far wider than that. So I think one of the biggest dangers with the accountancy industry ever is the phrase, oh, because we always do it that way. And that shouldn't be a reason for doing it that way again. It's an underpinning that we should always be welcoming of change, or at least open to it, and not change for change's sake as such, but looking to see, well, what process can we make better? What software is there to increase, to make a customer's life better, or make our own processes more efficient? So that's a large part of the service that my team delivers, which is, well, can we innovate within businesses to make, instead of typing out 100 invoices a day manually, what can we put in place so that it's far more automated and far more smooth on that delivery? And thinking like entrepreneurs, this is really important when it comes to our customers. So we have a massive, like I say, we have a massive passion and focus on the helping business owners get where they want to be. If people don't want to get anywhere, that's a difficult service to deliver and work with. So that thing like an entrepreneur, what do they see themselves in 5 years? Where do they want the business to go is a really large part of it. And also from our colleagues, spotting opportunities where we can potentially offer these extra services and extra things to people above and beyond just the accounts process. So those things tied together are really what we stand behind as what makes our business what it is. And we've done a lot of work with the team to kind of define these for us, not just have them as buzz phrases on the wall.